In a land burdened by broken systems, deafening sirens, and leaders who often treat public office like personal inheritance, a quiet presence emerged. Not a man of slogans or spectacles, but one whose calm voice carried weight and whose lifestyle whispered volumes in a place where noise had become currency. That man is Peter Gregory Obi. And his story is more than politics, it is the story of integrity's defiance in a nation gasping for sincerity. Peter Obi was born on July 19, 1961, in Onitsha, a bustling city in Anambra State known for its commerce and culture. His upbringing was humble, shaped by Catholic values, modest means, and a household where education was sacred and excess was shunned. He was not born into a ruling family or mentored by political titans. He was simply a boy who believed in principles. As a student, he stood apart, not because he was the noisiest or the boldest, but because he was steady. His friends called him Okut, the Rock, because he was unyielding in his character. He attended Christ the King College in Onitsha, then moved on to the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, where he studied philosophy. That discipline didn't just train him to think, it taught him to question, to weigh ethics, and to search for truth. But Peter Obi never allowed education to end with a degree. In the years that followed, he sought knowledge with relentless curiosity, enrolling in executive programs at Harvard, Oxford, the London School of Economics, Lagos Business School, and more. But even with all this, he never paraded his certificates. For him, learning wasn't about applause, it was about equipping oneself to serve. Before Nigeria ever heard his political voice, Peter Obi had already built a name in the business world. He ran successful enterprises and held leadership roles in multiple companies, including Fidelity Bank and Next International. Yet unlike many wealthy Nigerians, he lived a life that baffled those who equated success with extravagance. No flashy cars. No sprawling convoys. No loud parties. Just simple clothes, quiet diligence, and an ethic that separated him from the noisy elite. His belief was clear: true wealth must have purpose, and leadership must reflect the people it serves. In 2003, Peter Obi entered politics, not because he was invited by powerful men, but because he felt Nigeria needed a new kind of leadership. He contested for governor of Anambra State under the All Progressives Grand Alliance, APGA, a party that many saw as a political lightweight. He faced a ruling party backed by enormous wealth and entrenched influence. When the votes were counted, Peter Obi was declared the loser. But he refused to accept the fraudulent outcome. While many would have bowed to the system or moved on, Peter chose to fight. Not with violence. Not with protest. But with evidence, persistence, and law. For 3 years, he waged a legal war against electoral injustice. In 2006, the courts declared him the rightful winner. He became governor, not by power games, but by process. But his time in office was short-lived. Just 7 months in, he was impeached. Why? Because he refused to share state resources with political kingmakers. He blocked inflated contracts. He questioned wasteful spending. And so, they removed him. Again, Peter Obi returned to the courts. Again, he waited quietly. And again, he won. His impeachment was overturned, and he was reinstated. But he came back not bitter, not angry, he came back focused. From that point forward, Peter Obi governed like a man on a mission. While other governors expanded their convoys and sprayed money at praise singers, Peter focused on schools, hospitals, infrastructure, and efficiency. He partnered with faith-based institutions to deliver quality education and healthcare. He invested in human capital, reformed government processes, and restored fiscal responsibility. He rejected the culture of waste. He refused to borrow recklessly. He slashed government costs, reduced his security detail, and often carried his own bag when traveling. He didn't live in the state's luxurious government house. He didn't throw lavish state dinners. His philosophy was radical by Nigerian standards: public office is not for privilege, it is for service. By the time he left office in 2014, ANAMBRA was no longer drowning in debt. He left over 75 billion Nigerian nairas in savings, unpaid salaries were history, and pensioners had hope again. Roads were built to last, schools recorded better performance. Hospitals became functional. And through it all, Peter Obi avoided the corruption scandals that plagued many of his peers. He exited power as simply as he had entered it, without noise, without fanfare. In 2019, he returned to national attention as the vice presidential candidate under the People's Democratic Party, PDP, running alongside Atiku Abubakar. Though the ticket lost, Peter Obi's presence in that race awakened a new demographic, young Nigerians hungry for change. His interviews, debates, and speeches were a breath of fresh air. He quoted data. He analyzed policies. He didn't insult, dramatize, or distract. He educated. By 2022, the nation was bracing for another election, and Peter Obi made a bold move. He left the PDP and joined the Labour Party, then seen as irrelevant in national politics. Critics laughed. Commentators scoffed. He's throwing away his chances, they said. But what Peter Obi had was not machinery or money. He had something stronger, trust. He had authenticity. And from that seed grew a storm. What followed was a political awakening. Young Nigerians who had long felt invisible, especially those who had led the #EndSARS movement, rallied behind him. They called themselves the Pabedians. And unlike the rented crowd of typical campaigns, these were people driven by conviction. Posters were printed with personal funds. Rallies were self-organized. No thugs, no bribes, just passion. Across cities and villages, markets and campuses, Peter Obi's name echoed. His campaign became a movement. Social media exploded with support. Celebrities, influencers, tech professionals, artisans, and market women all joined in. In a country often divided by ethnicity and religion, Obi's message united them, a promise to build a Nigeria that produced instead of consumed, that educated rather than indoctrinated, that rewarded honesty, not hooliganism. When the 2023 elections came, the energy was undeniable. For the first time, a third-party candidate had become a national contender. Obi won key regions, including Lagos and Abuja. The establishment was shaken. But when final results were released, he came third. Allegations of electoral malpractice filled the air. His supporters grieved, but Peter Obi stayed calm. He addressed the nation with restraint. If you must be obedient, he said, you must be peaceful. You must respect the law. His dignity in defeat only increased the respect people had for him. And though he did not claim the presidency, he won the soul of a generation. Since then, Peter Obi has not faded into the shadows. He continues to speak at universities, engage with youth, and advocate for governance reforms. He travels without fanfare, lives simply, and remains accessible. No convoys. No private jets. No armed arrogance. Just a man and his mission. People meet him not as a celebrity, but as a symbol. They call him hope. They describe him with words like honesty, transparency, humility, and vision. In marketplaces and boardrooms, he remains relevant, not because of position, but because of principle. Peter Obi is not perfect. He is, after all, human. But in a nation bruised by betrayal, where public trust is often a casualty of leadership, Peter Obi stands out as a rare example of consistency. His story transcends elections. It challenges assumptions. It invites a generation to believe again. Whether or not he ever becomes president, one thing is clear, Peter Obi has redefined what leadership can mean in Nigeria. In a system where everything seems for sale, he has shown that character is not just valuable, it is priceless. And that, perhaps, is the true legacy of Okut. Many people believe that a time will come when Peter Obi will become president of Nigeria. And corrupt practices will be swept out from government seat of Nigeria. Remember to like the video, drop your opinion and subscribe for more.